Kaisen has by far some of my favorite abilities in all of manga. I mean, come on. Limitless, Idle Transfiguration, Boogie Woogie. Seriously, that lineup's elite. But that only scratches the surface. Today, I'm going over the 10 most versatile curse techniques in the entire series. Now, a few key criteria to the ranking before we get started. Number 1, can this ability be effective in different situations? Number 2, can I give this ability to a different character and it still be a banger? And number 3, no elemental abilities, otherwise they'd be half the list. Okay, y'all know the drill, let's run it. At number 10, we have Curse Speech. The standout curse technique belonged to everyone's favorite salmon boy, Toge Inumaki. Salmon, rice ball, seaweed, subscribe. But in all seriousness, Inumaki's curse speech is incredibly versatile, can be used relatively effectively in a variety of scenarios. A little bit of a refresher for anyone who hasn't seen JJK in a while, curse speech is an ability that automatically activates when the user, well, speaks, compelling the target to obey whatever the user says. This can be anything from catch fire to make me a pizza. Now, I love this ability because I know if someone like Gojo had this, he'd just be trolling the entire time. Tickle yourself and find it ticklish. Curse speech is a great place to start the list because while we've seen Inumaki use it, it's also been used by another character with a tiny bit more cursed energy. I can see almost any character in the series being instantly elevated by this ability to various levels depending on their creativity, even if they have an extremely limited supply of cursed energy. Obviously, that's important. I mean, come on, any JJK fan knows that your cursed energy directly corresponds to how strong your ability is. But even if we pretend that wasn't the case, it makes the bottom of the list for a few reasons. First off, the drawbacks are just way too intense. While destroying your throat isn't the worst thing, pause.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Well, destroying your throat isn't the worst thing if you're hydrated and have medicine. Not being able to turn the ability off makes communicating problematic. I also have to wonder if this ability even works if your opponent can't understand you or doesn't speak your language. I guess maybe it does because cursed spirits can be affected even if they can't speak, but it's still a concern I have. Sadly though, cursed speech doesn't work on non-living things, and since most of the things above it do, it earns the 10th spot on the list. Next up, we have the man who turned the JJK fangirls feral. Nanami's ratio technique is the definition of simple but effective. This technique grants the user the ability to create a weak spot on any target. We saw just how destructive this technique could be when Nanami was showing Itadori the basics of hunting curses. He was one-shotting all the small guys like it was nothing and was even able to contest an immature Mahito while they were fighting in the sewers. Now imagine that technique on someone with a higher level of cursed energy. If you've ever played an RPG like I have been, which is why the video is so late, you'll understand just how insane being able to consistently land critical hits can be. It's sort of like that. If Itadori had this technique in the final arc of the series, things may have wrapped up much sooner. But even at level 1, crit damage is still absolutely insane. I think if I gave this ability to one of the windows like Ichiji, they'd still be able to use it somewhat effectively. And because it doesn't have the drawback of destroying your throat,
Stop it.
It's more effective overall. Plus, Nanami shows that an extension of this technique can be used on terrain in the world around you, which helps it close the gap created by the sheer number of options curse speech gives its user. Finally, I should add that we did see Ino use this during the final battle via Nanami's curse tool, and it was able to elevate him in a way that made him slightly useful in that insane fight, which is an incredible feat because, guys, let's be honest, that guy sucks. At number 8, we have anti-gravity system. And guys, I know what you're thinking, but let me have this one. Gravity manipulation is busted no matter how you look at it. I mean, dude, come on. Fujitora from One Piece could literally destroy the planet. So why is it this low? Well, for starters, we just don't know how large of a range it has. If it's super close range, it would mean a lot of the abilities higher on the list would totally outperform it. Now, on the other hand, if it has a wide range, it'd be closer to the top. What we see when Kenjaku uses this ability in the manga in the fight with Yuki and Choso is the reversal of the technique. So my guess based on the name is that would enable the user to fly when it's used normally. See, flight is great as a curse technique, but if they can't use the reversal for offense because the user isn't skilled enough, they need to pair it with a curse tool or another technique to do anything. Honestly, there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding anti-gravity system, and that really hurts its ranking, so I can't justify putting it any higher than number 8 on this list. Boom, now's the point of the video where I want you to predict the rest in the comment section. Okay, let's get back to the video. Domain expansion. Number 7 is Geto's curse manipulation. In a world like Jujutsu Kaisen where there are curses everywhere, this ability is just stupid broken. There is a reason Geto is a special grade sorcerer after all. The ability to capture curses and use them like Pokemon almost guarantees you're never outnumbered. And for a weaker sorcerer, this would be an absolute game changer. Whether you're fighting a cursed spirit or another sorcerer, it's always harder to fight back if you're getting jumped. And that's the moral of Jujutsu Kaisen. It also makes fights shorter since after you beat up an enemy enough, you can just absorb them. But to make this even crazier, you can use the curse techniques of strong curses you take down. This instantly elevates any sorcerer who's lucky enough to be born with this technique to absolutely absurd heights. The reason it's at number 7 instead of higher, though, is for a few reasons. If you somehow run out of cursed spirits or don't have a good cursed spirit to suit your situation, things get bad fast. But that's only an issue if you're able to beat some cursed spirits in the first place. If you can't beat cursed spirits and absorb them, you can't use this curse technique, which is why I put it here. Number 6 is the Kamo family's blood manipulation. This ability is super straightforward and easy to understand, which gives it a low barrier of entry to any sorcerer who has the technique. It allows you to control your blood and use it for a variety of things, such as attacks or buffing your general stats. This includes blood that's been outside your body for an extended period of time, as we saw when Kamo fought Fushiguro. I love this because this drastically raises the technique's versatility, and in the hands of a weaker sorcerer who made you rely on trickery and tactical thinking to survive, this could be used for a variety of ambush tactics. Now, of course, there are a few glaring weaknesses, most notably the fact that your ammunition is extremely limited. After all, bleeding out sucks. But an ability as oppressive as blood manipulation can end fights quick enough to easily invalidate this weakness. That, plus the sheer amount of options it gives its users, is why I put it above things like curse manipulation and anti-gravity system. Blood manipulation also holds the special honor of being the curse technique used by the most different characters in the series at 3. And I'm no power scaler, but I think it's safe to say that all 3 of these users are each a tier above the previous one. Yuji is dumb. In fact, he's flat out stupid, but he's a prodigy when it comes to cursed energy. We see, though, that this isn't necessarily what makes a good user of this technique, since he wasn't great at using some of the more advanced applications like convergence. Meanwhile, on the other hand, we see Kamo and Choso perform incredibly complicated techniques despite having a smaller cursed energy pool. And while Kamo doesn't hit nearly as hard as Yuji does, it shows me that this technique could be given to other characters in the verse and still be perfectly viable. Boogie Woogie is number 5, and this is so useful both in and out of combat. The fact that this ability can be used to swap places with cursed weapons is all I need to say. But I'll say some more anyway because this technique is dumb and awesome and I love it. Without a doubt, the best example I can use to back up my claim is Todo himself. Todo and Itadori doing what they did to Hanami at that point of the story was only possible thanks to Boogie Woogie. The ability it provides a sorcerer changes the game, period. But Todo's insanely gifted when it comes to understanding curse techniques, and his battle IQ is ridiculous. So that's gotta take away from the ability's ranking, right? Shouldn't it be lower?
Incorrect.
I want you to imagine that you had this technique. Now, how would you use it? In my last Jujutsu Kaisen video, which you should totally watch, by the way, I referenced Flying Raijin, which is my favorite ability in all of anime. And that's exactly how I would use Boogie Woogie. Max simple cursed weapons all around my house, or any battlefield I had to deal with, and just Boogie Woogie all over the place. I think if someone like Miwa had this technique, they'd be relevant. I think if a ranged fighter like Kamo had this technique, they'd be incredibly annoying to deal with. And I think if most characters in the story had this ability instead of their own, they'd be able to make it work, even if not as well as Todo. But who better to put above Todo on the list than the woman who raised him? Yuki Tsukumo's Star Rage comes in at number 4. God, I love this ability. Star Rage allows its user to freely manipulate their own mass. And to explain why this is stupid broken, here's Professor Lettuce. Mass directly corresponds with your weight. This means as you hit someone, you can instantly raise the power you're hitting them with. Or, you know, you can create your own gravitational pull and become a black hole like Yuki did. Also, I'm not doing that voice for the rest of the video. That's only a last-ditch scenario, though. Pretty much any sorcerer could use this ability to increase their combat strength and speed as much as they want. Imagine you get speed blitzed by the Incredible Hulk, who is amped by a Lucio main speed boost. That's basically what this power lets absolutely anybody do.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
This is useful in any situation, and the curse technique compensates for its lack of range capability by allowing its user to close gaps with almost little to no effort. That said, this ability does have a downside. It has little to no defensive capabilities outside of increasing your speed. But I argue that unless you're fighting the top tier of the verse, that really doesn't matter because of just how much raw power this ability gives you. Plus, I may have forgotten to mention this, but you get a Shikigami with this technique, which can also act as a target for you to add mass to. So just like we talked about with curse manipulation, this ability also makes it that much harder to outnumber you. Man, Star Rage is just so good. But unfortunately, there's still 3 curse techniques left that are more versatile. Idle Transfiguration. The number 3 spot may seem low for the most overpowered close range ability in the series, but that in no way discredits just how many options this curse technique gives its user. Close your eyes, or don't and watch the video, and imagine that this random guy from Shibuya had this curse technique. No training, no experience. Would he be special grade? I know this sounds like a stupid question, but Idle Transfiguration allowing its user to directly manipulate an opponent's soul simply with a graze, I think entirely speaks for itself. But allowing the user to manipulate their own soul make this technique too much to handle for all but the strongest of Jujutsu sorcerers. Remember, Mahito had to be written out of the story in a similar way to Gojo. The only reason this curse technique is here and not in the first or second place on this list is because it's unclear how a human body would handle this technique. I doubt it could be used to the absolutely insane levels that Mahito used it. Still, there's almost no situation where I choose to have a curse technique other than this one. Give this to anyone in the story who's in a dangerous scenario that doesn't directly involve Kenjaku, Sukuna, or Gojo, and they probably leave in a better condition than they arrived. But speaking of Sukuna, number 2 is Dismantle. Say it with me, guys. Dismantle is stupid. You can't tell me Dismantle is not useful in any and all situations. Oh no, a building is falling on me. Dismantle. Oh no, a sorcerer is jumping me. Dismantle. Satoru Gojo is here. Run! Dismantle. The sheer fact that this can be used on any terrain is ridiculous and opens so many new approaches of attack for a sorcerer to use. Just like with blood manipulation, if this technique belonged to a more tactical fighter, then it would be like a legitimate bullet hell type video game. Except, oh yeah, you can't see the bullets. It can't be seen at all. The only reason Maharaga could see it is because it adapted. I feel like this ability kind of power cliffs the rest of the series, which makes sense since so does its wielder. In fact, I'm in a level with you guys. It's so powerful that it's hard to put into words just how versatile this ability is. But I think I figured out how to put it into one sentence. It can be adapted to fit any situation. But it still remains number 2, because number 1 is the king of adaptability. Maharaga! Hit the like button! Number 1 is the 10 Shadows technique. I know you Sukuna and Mahito fans will be a little annoyed that this is number 1, but the man who had Dismantle wanted this ability so bad that he plotted the whole manga to get it. And for good reason. The 10 Shadows is essentially 10 techniques in one. And while yes, you have to tame the Shikigami to use them, you get Divine Dogs for free. Divine Dogs is really fucking good. With their raw offensive power and expert sniffers that can detect curses, they excel in both offense and defense. And if one dies, well, now you simply have an amped Divine Dog. You don't actually lose any combat power. But you remember when I said that elemental powers would break the list? This is my way of cheating. Why? Because the 10 Shadows gives its user both water attacks and lightning attacks because of Max Elephant and Nue respectively. The 10 Shadows Shikigami all combo with each other to such an absurd degree that it annoys me just talking about it, because I feel like I didn't see enough of it during the actual manga. This curse technique is so broken that it can use RCT with Round Deer, Rapid Escape to dodge, Great Serpent to immobilize, and Piercing Ox can mow down almost anyone or anything. And the Toad, man, that tongue strength. Hey guys, post-production lettuce here, and I still cannot believe I completely forgot to mention Agito at all during this video. The fact that you can combine the different aspects of the Shikigami together is stupid broken, but all right, let's get back to it. The only thing we didn't see in the manga was Tiger Funeral, as this lovely comment reminded me. But if I had to guess, it would probably be related to fire or wind based off of aesthetic alone. Yep, you heard me right. Aesthetic is about the depth of my argument. The point is, if another random fella got this technique, they could have access to all of this. That's not even including the shadows themselves, which can act as storage for literally anything. Even you. If all else fails, well, you can always follow in Megumi's footsteps and say, with this treasure I summon. 10 Shadows is the best, coolest, and certainly the most versatile curse technique in the entirety of Jujutsu Kaisen. As always, I've been your host, Lettuce Eating Walrus. Call it out, boys. Lettuce Eating Walrus. Bye.